Welcome to the Matt Phillips Podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching. We help sales managers and leaders make more money, save time, and become kick-ass leaders of their sales teams. And that's what we're here to talk about on this podcast. We are here to give you the tools and tactics to build a well-oiled sales machine and teach you the mental toughness skills so you can show up confident, focused, emotionally in control, and ready to energize your team. It's time to talk sales leadership and mental toughness. Let's get into today's episode. Well, welcome to today's podcast. It is Matt Phillips. And as usual, I have an extremely special guest to welcome to the stage here today, and welcome to the podcast. And I'm going to introduce you to him in a little bit, but I want to give you some insight into his background. And it was really fun. It's interesting to me, the people that you meet on the journey that you're on. And Donald and I met, a number of weeks ago at this point, and was fortunate enough to be on his podcast, and decided based on that, I needed to have him on my podcast to share his wisdom and give you some tips around sales and leadership, and just, again, understanding his journey to the path that has led him to where he's at today. And so I'm so excited to dive into this conversation and see where kind of the future holds for us. But let me tell you first, before I welcome Donald, a little bit about himself. So he's got to sit and listen about himself right now. But Donald's mission, and I love this, is to evangelize the effective selling method and motivate sellers of all levels to do big things. I mean, this is why this guy hit it off right at the start. But as a former top-performing technology sales professional who had successfully sold in public and private sectors, Donald cracked the code on helping teams thrive in B2B sales. Salesforce has recognized Donald as a 2022 and 2023 top sales influencer, and by LinkedIn as a top 22 sales insider. Donald is the author of a book called Sell It Like a Mango, a new seller's guide to closing more deals, and co-author of Professional Selling, a guide for modern sales professional used in over 90 universities across the United States. Donald has designed his training around concrete fundamental principles adaptable by any seller. And the list of clients that he has, you're going to be pretty blown away by. I know this is just a few of them, but he's helped sellers from companies around the world build their confidence in their selling abilities and increase revenue as a result. Organizations like Rock Venture or Quicken Loans, Hair Club, VMware, Consolidated Electrical Distributors, Salt Edge, Charter Spectrum, Haibu. I had to ask about that one. Haibu, The Real, Yellow Pages, Yacht Post, Citigroup, New York Life. And just to add a little more flavor, I could go on and on about this, but in addition to training sales professionals in workshops, online courses, keynote presentations, and students as an adjunct professor at BYU, Idaho, he also hosts a popular podcast, which I was so, again, blessed to be on, called the Sales Evangelist. You're going to want to add this to your podcast list. But with listeners in over 155 countries and over 4 million all-time downloads, podcast has received recognition from publications such as Entrepreneur Magazine, Success Magazine, Inc. Magazine, Forbes, HubSpot, The Huffington Post, and the South Florida Business Journal. I'm so excited to introduce you right now to Donald Kelly. Donald, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. I like that intro. I think I need to have you do that every single time. Be the hype man for me.
Let's go. I was
take this on the road.
I'll tell you, it was funny. I always laugh. My kids laugh at me because they will tell me I'll go into this kind of, I don't know, announcer voice every so often. And I'll be like, welcome to the pod. So I don't know. Maybe I've got a second career in opening intros for people, Donald. I don't know.
I think there's something to it.
It's so funny. But I'm so excited to have you here. And we had such a great conversation on your podcast. And we'll make sure we link it up too as well so people can have a listen to that one. And so many different areas that I want to dive into today with you. But I always like to start these podcasts with this one question. And it's this. Okay. Who is one of the greatest leaders that you have worked for? And how did he or she influence how you lead today?
I know the best one that comes to mind is Steve Hatch. Steve Hatch, he was a spiritual leader of mine, but then he hired me right after high school. I did some work with him, and also when I was in college. And what I loved about Steve was that I remember once I was typing, and I was just like, just typing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to be a perfectionist, and he was like, "Dude, listen, you don't need to be a perfectionist. You just need to get the work done." And what I realized with Steve as I kept going on with him, and I learned a lot from him, was the principles. He always taught principles that allow you to govern yourself. So even in that typing situation, he kind of helped me to understand. Like he went further in teaching the principle. Like you need to, you're not. Sometimes we try to get to perfect. What is the goal you're trying to get done? Like I want to get the paper done. All right. Well, does it need to be perfect right now as you're doing that? It's like no. Okay. Well, type out what you need. It doesn't, I'm not going to judge you. No one's going to judge you on that. Get it done. And then you go back in and then you can redo it. But just understand the principle is that you don't need to be perfect. But he always did stuff like that, right? And I remember one of the other ones he taught me was like, look at your leaders, your good leaders and your bad leaders, and learn from both of them. And I was like, why would I want to learn from the bad leaders? And the principle that he was teaching me was like, you can learn from everyone. What did they do that you could do differently? And what some of the great leaders did that you can take advantage of? But constantly, this is what he did. So ever since I was a kid, I've just learned that, and working with him, it would made it even that much better. He had a way of inspiring you to make sure inspiring you to accomplish, like tackle a hill or tackle a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that he believed in me. I remember I was young, right, in college, and we were working with the local NPR station, and he entrusted me. Either he was naive or crazy, or he just entrusted me to do, believed in me. But I choose to believe in that he was entrusted in me and believed in me. But he entrusted me to work with the local NPR station to help create a campaign. And it was great, and we got business from it. But it was just powerful in the sense that he, instead of him micromanage, gave the parameters, gave the guidance, and was able to review stuff, but trusted me to be able to take the lead and to run with that. And that was a cool experience. It just was night and day from some of the other leaders I've had, which were not so great, that I learned a lot from. And reward people for their efforts, and that was something big that I took from him.
I mean, there's so much within that, right? That Steve taught you those principles, and I'm sure you could go on and on about just the other kind of areas, right? But trusting, letting people run. I think sometimes as salespeople and as leaders, there's that balance of, am I ready to send the email now? Am I ready to make the phone call now? Like, do I know enough? It's that perfectionist mentality a little bit of, or analysis paralysis. I think there's like different ways to describe it. Do you see that a lot in your business? And I want to get into your journey a little bit, but I want to press on this for a moment. But talk to me a little about that.
It happens all the time, especially in outreach. You feel that you need to have the perfect research. We tell people they should be doing research before a call, but at least 3 by 3, right? 3 things that you can learn 3 things within 3 minutes before you make that outreach call. Also, the other thing that we recognize that's important with that is that you need to make sure that you have the right people you're reaching out to. But sometimes you go back to that thing you talked about, paralysis by analysis. Is that you get to this point where you get so much into your head that you don't actually do any of the efforts, that you actually don't do the work, and then you find yourself in trouble. And this typically applies a lot to new sellers, where they want new sellers that are trying. They're not brand new. Let me clarify on that, because you have the beginner's luck, but then you start to analyze things. So let's say they're cooking with hot chicken grease, doing all right, for the first 3 months, but then they start overthinking it. And then they have that decline. And the reason is because they start over analyzing. They started off and they didn't know what was up from down, and they were just, did everything that management said, and they started to see success. But then they started not seeing as great a success anymore. So then they start over analyzing, and they find themselves going down a rabbit hole because they're being perfect. I need to find the perfect script. I need to find the perfect email. I need to find the perfect message to send out to people. And it's like, there's nothing that's perfect. Go back to the principle. Again, is it relevant? It's going to help people. And we can go into that later. But the point is, yes, I see that all the time. And then also the fact with leadership as well. Because sometimes leaders will try to get that perfect thing out of a seller. And in actuality, what we need, and I think we talked about this on our show, if not, but in the performance world, what we find, and you probably find, and I see this from when I played sports, it's just mastering the rhythm. I did the 300 hurdles, and I also did the high hurdles as well. And what it comes down to is just mastering the technique. You have some speed, great, but master the technique, and you'll be able to outbeat people who don't have that technique down. And that comes from the activity, that comes from the behavior, that comes from doing that. So perfection, meaning like you got to have these appointments, you got to have this perfect day. Like, no, if you're doing the activity, bro, I'm fine with that. Do the activity and do the activity well. The result will come as a result, as a byproduct of that. So yes, I can go on for days. That one is in our business all the time.
Well, it's so good because I was just actually reading a book last night, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to try to pull it up because you reminded me of this. It's a book called Predictable Revenue. And
come on, Aaron
okay,
Ross.
so you're familiar with it then. Good. And one thing that stuck out to me in there was around this outreach, right? And one of the recommendations is like do email outreach, right? So you can go, whether you use LinkedIn, we'll talk about that in a bit, but like LinkedIn or other resources, buying a list, things like that, just like go do an outreach. And one of the things that again stuck out to me was, oftentimes we try to craft, and I've hand up right now, right? And this is me, where I've tried to craft this email that's like, pushing on every perfect pain point and like trying to paint this picture of, don't you want your sales to like triple and have this, this smooth operating machine and blah, blah, blah. And I don't even know if I'm talking to the right person. And so what Aaron Ross talks about, which I love, was just send a quick email that they can read on their phone, because they're probably on their phone anyway, checking email, saying, hey, I don't know if you're the right person or not, but who's the right person to talk to about X, Y, and Z? Right? It could be anything that you do. And I love that because I can't remember the stats, like there's like something like 8 to 10% response rate or something like that based on like short and sweet. I don't even know if this is the right person. And that can be such like an overwhelming thing to simplify.
Yeah.
Like which is kind of a counterintuitive thinking, but I think it's something I experience. And I see my clients experience where it's like this, do we go simple or do we go complex?
Yeah.
And what the right balance is. How do you, like based on your experience, like in sales, right? But then also what you teach now, how do you kind of assist people in navigating like the complexity versus the simplicity? And does it depend on industry? Does it depend on buyer? Does it depend on like who you're going through? How do you think through that? And how have you kind of done that yourself? And what do you teach?
Yeah, sales is getting more and more complex. Or let's back up. Sales is simple. Like the sales process, the way you do selling, identifying a problem and bringing a solution, that part is simple. The way we go about executing sales and the sales process is getting more complicated. However, it doesn't need to be confusing. Hopefully that makes sense. And let's back up with it. Like since the dawn of time, we've had people selling stuff, right? Where I have berries and you have some meat and I can exchange that berries for meat. You found value in what I have. It was relevant because you have a meat diet, but you're curious about some of these berries that it's high in the mountains and maybe you don't necessarily have the climbing capabilities to go do that, but we can. So it's something of value that we can exchange for that. And I don't have the skills to go hunt meat like these bisons like you do. You're Viking built, then get some of that meat from you and we can exchange. So the hunter-gatherer kind of. So we had this exchange. The same exact thing applies in our days. I have a team and I have a goal to help my company to become, get more market share in our industry. And your job is you teach people how they can do that. Well, I have a problem. I don't know how to get there. Your solution can help me. You present that solution. You bring the steak, and I bring the berries. And that's what that exchange is. So that's simple. But the complexity is that we're not necessarily just out in toga or whatever they wore back then, sheepskin. We are in our high rises and we're blocked by different people and we're blocked by phone and different things to keep intruders away from us. The goal is how can we get over that line or to present ourselves in a way that it is relevant, to present to you something that's relevant. And that's through like the proper emails and so forth. So when you ask me like, what does it take to do that? It's always err on the side of simplicity because that's our nature as human beings. Even in our sales team right now, I mean, I love the fact that Aaron talks about that. And the way that we're creating our emails is more like text messages because we've seen that as to be the truth way people behave. No one wants to read text or emails anymore. No one wants to be a part of being a part of a sales campaign per se but they do have problems and they do need solution from it. And it's easier to have conversations with folks. Simplify and go back to the process, go back to the way things originally were with communication. You have berries, I have steak idea and in that sense, and it makes it so much more easy for people to be able to come back. That gives a higher response rate. It's out of one of our thing we were looking at the other day was quick question. That subject line still produce over and over and over again. We have a 65% open rate on that.
Really?
And then when you have the email truncated straight up,
Fascinating.
when you have some of the campaigns around the highest was 65. Let me back up, and the lowest was around 49.6 because we literally did this with a client. So you're seeing a really high open rate from that because again, it's simple curiosity and people open it, and then you can give them that text message type of message. You don't need to, if they have a true problem, they don't need to know your background and all that stuff. We need to simplify and focus on a problem. Donald saw that you guys were hiring a lot more sellers. Curious if you have a sales process in place to help them to ramp, to get them up to ramp fast as much as your veteran sellers, whatever, something simple.
Yes.
But you might even give me, I just want a yes or no from you. People think that you need to get I am interested and I want to buy from you from a response, and therefore they take a time to try to complex the process. But it's just communicate. They might say, no, Donald, we have something internally. Perfect. That's exactly why I'm reaching out to you. I have an idea that we've helped with New York Life. Would you be open to learning more about that? But now you're going in that conversation. But anyways.
Love that.
We can keep going deeper. Yeah.
Well, no, I think and this is where I'm chuckling to myself, and I'll chuckle out loud there, but of how many times have I don't know if the listeners as well. It's like when you look at your team of you start off simple, like quick question, and then they open it and it's like this throw up on the page of paragraph, a novel within an email.
It's a question. It's just a question.
It's just a question, right? And I think that's, it's counterintuitive, right? That it's like, I have to promote our background and what we do and the results we've gotten, and not yet. Yeah. Perhaps.
And the thing about it, and what I go back to people with that, sorry to cut you off, I get so excited, is I don't care. I'm doing an email right now. I'm taking care of the team right now. I'm getting ready to wrap up stuff right now. I do have a problem, but I don't, Donald Miller says, if you confuse, you lose. And if you're confusing me about your story, about where you came from and all that jazz, I really don't care. I am so consumed about myself, and I hope that doesn't sound bad, but this is what a buyer's feeling. But if you could come in and say, Donald, saw that you guys are ramping up social and that you guys are hiring, the post's been out for 3 months. That must be something that's pretty important. Are you qualified? Are you happy with this? Are you satisfied with the people you're getting as in your for the hiring process right now? Actually, I'm not. I'm looking for better people. It's something that's relevant. They're posting that stuff, so it's a trigger for them. Might say, no, I'm not. And you might say, okay, I have a solution. Would you be open to setting up? I know it's busy on a holiday right now. We can schedule something if you're working next week or early in the new year. Let's get something in the new year. All right, I'll send over an invite. Does Fridays or Wednesdays work for you? But or whatever. That's it. But I didn't care. You don't care about who I am. You care about a solution that I have. In an email I send you, I might put some information about our company and more details about how we've helped other people. Or I might give you some, you're going to go back to my domain and you're going to look it up as you see, who are these people exactly? He sounds like he's talking about, but you're going to look at the domain anyways.
Yes.
And that's one of the other things, people are we do things that we don't necessarily, if you watch somebody, if we were to sit back and watch one of our prospects as a fly on the wall, they would do stuff that would probably amuse us that we think we have to teach them on. So go back to researching. If you came to me with a point that makes sense, I'm going to look at your domain in that email and I'm going to copy that real quick and I'm going to go to your website. And I'm like, crap, that looks like they know what they're doing. It does match exactly what he just said to me in that messaging. All right, quick snoop on LinkedIn. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, because it's a problem that I have. So I'm going to look. All right, cool. Sounds like it makes sense. Listen, I can't do it in a meeting right now. Can we take a time? And that's all within 2 minutes, right? Maybe a minute and a half. But I will do that and you will do that. Why wouldn't they do it? It's quite simple, sales, when you come down to it.
I think that's so interesting. And I love the whole 3 by 3 that you talked about right at the beginning,
Mhm.
right? Of, 3 things in 3 minutes. And I think this is something that we have to overcome, right? If we have this, we're here to solve your problem. And naturally, to your point, they're going to go research you, right? I had a call last week from a woman I went to college with, and out of the blue contacted me about doing some a workshop with her team. And she's the
Yeah.
CEO, and I have not talked to her in 20 years or more than 20
Dang.
years. And she was very nice, got along with her friend in college. We just haven't kept in touch. But out of the blue, she's like, I've been seeing a lot of your stuff on LinkedIn and this post and that post, and I was checking out your website and all this sort of stuff. People are looking and checking you out. But if you can solve a problem, that's the first thing of like, I understand where you're at and this is how I can help. Is that of interest?
Yes.
And let's go.
Yeah. Because if you like, I found, I don't know if we talked about this on my podcast, but it was a revelation that I would say that came the other day. Not in a spiritual sense, but like I just, in my business revelation, so to speak.
Yes.
But it was this idea of buyers want to sell, salespeople want to sell. That's what we are designed to do. Buyers, however, are not just designed to buy. They're designed, I feel their behavior right now is to learn in the environment we're in. And what I mean by that, they're learning better ways to do things, learning ways to solve problems that they have, learning how to help their company. So if that's the case and we're pushing selling, it's not going to work. We need to become teachers and go back to what you just shared when it comes to content. This is why I share stuff on social. I have several appointments that we've booked this week, and most of them are coming from people because I was teaching. I spoke at a conference, and a lot of these people saw me at this conference, connected with me back on LinkedIn, and they like what I taught because it was a solution to a problem that they have. Therefore, they raised their hand to talk to me, and we're getting an appointment in that. I don't know if that makes sense. So sellers want to sell, buyers want to learn. Sellers should change their behaviors into sellers should educate. So even in an email like that, I can educate because if I find the triggers indicating that you do have a problem, bring that up. So like say, for instance, if you see me struggling with changing a tire and you are a tire company, I mean, are you going to come back and, just drive past? You're going to say, well, I'm a tire company. Dude is struggling with this tire. Donald, see you're struggling, or Mr. See you're struggling with your tire. Would you need help with that? And of course you're going to do it. And it sounds like very elementary, but literally that's what it is. No matter how complex our offerings are, that's literally how simple it is. So what can you, what indicates smoke for you? What is that trigger that you need to go and somebody needs help with something? Identify those triggers and bring that up to people. And then you'll be more relevant as opposed to what most people do. They get a list and they just blast based on ideal customer profile. Even though I'm your ideal customer, even though I'm a business, you sell office furniture. I have a business and I have employees and I have chairs, and I'm in your your revenue size and the number of employees. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in market or want to change right now. I could have just bought chairs, but if you just blanket send it to me, you're screwed because I'm going to put you a spam, as opposed to if you see that I'm growing and maybe I have indicators, you can indicate if I'm, I'm looking, I haven't changed furnitures in forever. I don't know how you can figure that stuff out, but there's some ways you can do stuff, right? But you might find some kind of, you see my behaviors online because you have intent based and you see that I'm searching for more office furniture or a team, then, shoot your shot at that point. So
I think it's such a critical thing. And I love that analogy, right? If I'm a tire company, I stop by, I say, hey, I see you're having some trouble, can I help you with this? And usually then it leads to, okay, either someone will say, well, can you just show me how? Or can you do it for me? And either it could be a product offering or service offering, right? But it starts to shift the, conversation to how can we help? Or maybe, hey, I got it.
Yeah.
I know how to change the tire.
Or educate me.
And you move on.
Yeah. Adana, you're changing the tire there, and there's a way. I'm not sure if there's a way that you can do that, quicker. Look like you're in a hurry. You're in a suit or whatnot. Yeah, educate me, like you said, teach me, or it's like, we can do that for you so you can get back on the road really quickly. Yeah. We can do this so you never have to worry about that again. Upsell. Whenever you have, we have these, tires that will keep going even when you have a flat. And we check them every month and you pay a monthly. I'm making stuff up at this point.
Yeah.
Or if you ever have a trouble, you retain. We'll come out, just, push a button and we'll come within 7 minutes, AAA or whatever, and come and fix the tire. But the point is their services, people have problems and we just need solution to them. I'll give you one last one and I'll shut up about this one. We've never thought we would be these people, but my wife and I, we have a 4-year-old. Mm-hmm. She works and I work. We love our Saturday morning cleanup, put on some old oldie music, and cleaning the house and
love it,
whatnot. And we're realizing what makes the most sense. We spend some time together as a family, but can we get somebody to come at least twice a month or a couple times a week to do this? Yeah, it's a problem that we have, and we can have a solution for, and we can find a solution for that. And we can go out there and talk about it, and we'll probably go and ask our network, and we'll probably share stuff about that. But the fact is, like, we have a new problem that we never thought we would have ever had. But if it's a trigger that you see a growing family, and maybe that's a good thing to reach out to them about if you're in cleaning services. Anyways.
No, I think this is such a great point. And again, it goes back to that thing of like, simplify the process, right? Simplify the questions, simplify the outreach to, sometimes I see, and I overcomplicate this too. Like I'm either spending too much time trying to figure out everything about them and trying to make assumptions about what I think they need, versus just asking the question of like, hey, do you need help here? I mean, let's just cut to it. Maybe it's yes or no, and then you can get more sophisticated in selling them, right? But it's the simplification in the message of, I've done a little research. That's why I love that 3x3 that you talked about at the beginning. If you guys haven't taken notes on that one, good Lord, there's a nugget sitting right there. 3 things in 3 minutes, right? You can actually find out a tremendous amount about a lot of people, about a company, about a person in a very short amount of time. But then how do you go to them and just say, hey, you may or may not be the right person. Do you need help in this area based on the research? I think it's such a key thing where even I find myself hesitating at certain points, again, back to perfection. And there's lots buried in there too, beyond perfection, of the fears and doubts and all that sort of stuff. But it's super fascinating. Well, so one thing that you talked about, actually, kind of circled and talk about, was you talk about building confidence in selling abilities. And you and I talked a little bit before, but that word confidence, I think it's everything, right? I think it's foundational to everything, right? From, selling to being a leader to, faith to being a head of a household, like all the sorts of stuff. Like it's confidence in that stuff. How do you look at like building confidence in those around you and in your own team, in the clients that you work with? What are maybe a couple things that, like, I don't know, you have them do to help build that? Because I think it's like this can sometimes be seen as a mysterious thing of like, oh, well, they're just confident. Well, no, they've done something to be confident. But how do you look at that, and what are some things that you guys focus on to build that?
Quick wins. So what I mean by this is, like, one of the easiest ways to build somebody's confidence, quick wins. Let me give you an example. Like, I know some things are going to work with people, right? Go back to educating them. Like for folks who are going through our LinkedIn prospecting course or some of our business development course, I can quickly look at some of their things and give them some feedback that's going to give them a quick win. It is important. So let's say somebody with LinkedIn, I'm going to tell them your network right now. One of the easiest things you can do, go to your network, reach out to 10 people who are your ICP and ask them permission to ask a question. And then from those 10 people, I promise you're going to book an appointment from one of those people who are going to be in need at this point. Now, they try this and they test it out and like, holy crap, it does work. And they get a quick win from it. It builds the confidence to try the next thing. You go back to like the marketing idea. Donald Miller says, he teaches this idea, you do story loops, right? But if I can help you to feel confident in accomplishing this thing, then it's like, holy moly, I just did that. What else could I do to build my confidence when it comes to LinkedIn? Let me help you create a piece of content that your community is going to like. So connect with the right people, share relevant content, and engage. So then we share a piece of content that's going to give them result and help them to see that. great. We know the formula. We teach you to help you with your problem. They try it and they see it. The biggest thing to help somebody with the confidence, I feel, is to help them to generate a quick win. And once they can generate that quick win, they feel that they can do it. It empowers them and emboldens them to keep going forward. I'll give you another one. My son right now, he is 4. My wife for a while, when she was at home before she went go back into full-time field. We do Montessori stuff with them. Mm-hmm. So the process here is you don't teach them to read per se, like, say memorize letters, excuse me. We don't teach them memorize a letter, teach them what the sounds of those letters make. So we've been doing that, teach them what the sounds of the letter, you read to them. So instead of saying A, memorize A, B, C, that's worthless. Memorize A, B, C, like and then he associate the sounds with the letter, the visual side. So it helps him now do this like writing and spelling out words, and the confidence that he has once he can sound out words and make it, it just makes us all, it empowers him. Now he's writing out bigger words. He wrote Feliz Navidad. It wasn't spelled perfect, but the fact is he sounded out, and he's writing in Spanish because we speak Spanish too, my wife does. But the point is he's writing out a bigger word rather than like memorizing cat. A word that he sound out. And it comes back to the idea of, again, what we talked about from the beginning. If we can help them to master the activities, mastering those activities helps them to get quick wins, those quick wins, and help them to go forward. So he was spelling like, Papa and those things. And now he's going to bigger words, and he just keeps on going and trying to read now, which is fascinated, from his age as a 4-year-old. And it's exciting for us as parents, but it goes back to that. So that's what I would share. Yes. Quick wins, and then the mindset. You and I are both believers on that as well. Once you can help somebody to understand that they're capable, what they're capable of, it's remarkable what they can do. Like one of the things I tell my team all the time: we didn't come this far to only come this far. I didn't like quit my day job to go and build up this company and to only quit like at year 8 or year number 9. We didn't come this far to only come this far. We didn't come this far with this mission to only come this far. When I helped them to realize what we could do and what we have done, and we look back and see, we're like, bro, look at how many more people out there that we can assist and we can teach. Like, the sky's the limit. And once you can get them motivated and see what's out there and give them quick wins, come on, man, you can run through brick walls. So
for all you sales managers and leaders out there, I wonder if you've ever thought the phrase, why in the world did I sign up for this? I know I have. And the reality is that leading a team of salespeople can be challenging, right? Just figuring out how to motivate each person and keep the pipeline full, and just dealing with the pressure of delivering the month after month results that your company is requiring. And call me an optimist, but amidst the challenge, amidst sometimes the frustration, we have this opportunity in front of us to really impart our knowledge, right? And to leave that legacy on our team and just achieve next level results. And that's why today I want to personally invite you to our free masterclass training, where I'm going to share the exact secrets, the exact framework that I teach sales leaders around North America to help just take you to next level results for you and your team. And it's actually the exact framework that I taught one of my clients who, over a 12-month period, tripled organic revenue growth and increased margin by 30%. So I want to invite you to that masterclass. You can click the link below or head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar, and can't wait to see you in the training.
I love this, and I love your fire and passion behind it, because everything you're saying, like break it down. I'll say it slightly differently, right? Because the fact of like, it's a couple things you talk about. One is it's looking back. And I think this is where people make mistakes. If we look forward too far, and that can seem overwhelming, right? But you just did this, you physically turned your body. I know most of you are listening via podcast, not watching on YouTube. That's okay. But Donald right there, he turned his body and said, look back, right? Look back, because that's where the power is, right? If we've done it before, we can do it again. Look at who we've impacted. Look at the companies we've worked with. Look at all these great results we've had. Now let's look forward. And now let's look at the vision and look at the companies we can help and look at the prospects that we can go after and like help solve problems. If we've done it before, we can do it again. Now let's go capture that audience, right? And what you're saying as well, Donald, is let's then go get the quick wins. And it's the small things done consistently. Do the 3x3, do the little text message outreaches, use some of the things like quick question and all these sorts of things that are out there, but like go connect and like work through the process. And there's so much just within that small like passion that you were to share with us that I think we have to break down, and that all builds confidence. I think you and I talked on the podcast, like we're so quick to forget as human beings. And maybe it's like my wife or husband did something nice for me, or you know what, I overcame a fear and went and sent that email, or I made that phone call or whatever. We're so quick to forget because we're on to the next thing. And I'm sure you've experienced that and see that, you know, with clients you work with.
All the time. Here's one of the ways I see that we quickly forget. It's like they may have, in sales, your sales managers are always like, what did you have done for me today? So it's like, it's not what you did yesterday. Like, you did something yesterday, fantastic. But today we need to do something, right? But with that, salespeople can have some amazing highs and then goes low because they forget what they did. There's we partnered with the Pacific Institute during the pandemic, and we had a program that we did with them called, it was a high performance sales, it was a mindset program. And one of the things that we focused on was the flick back, flick up. And what this was, when you go back into a situation, just like what I did there, when you go into a situation that you're unfamiliar with or you're having tough time with, flick back, flick up. Even if you don't have experience in that thing, it can help your self-identity and self-worth to look back at something that you did. So let's say it's cooking. Maybe I'm not good at cooking. I'm all right at cooking. But let's say I'm not good at cooking, but I'm fantastic at gardening. Well, I can look back at gardening and say, listen, I figured out how to cut a 15-foot hedge and how to, get rid of weeds in my grass and how to grow like, tomatoes in South Florida, whatever. Yep. Like, I figured those things out. I learned, I did that. Flick back on the experience and accomplishment when you did accomplish that thing and use the confidence and experience from that to fuel the current situation. And if you go back to sales professionals, even if they're brand new and they don't have any experience, tell them, look back at something that you accomplished. You've done something in your life, whether it's give birth or whether it's like paint a house or, graduate at high school. What was that confidence? Let's go back in that moment, experience what that moment was like, how you felt, take them into that moment, and then take that energy. If you did that back then, what can you take and use in this particular situation? But in a sales rep person that forgets, it's like, bro, let's look back. You did this before. Don't you remember you did that? Don't you remember when you were going through that tough time and how you were able to get that prospect to answer the phone and, they, respond to your emails? Did you remember that? You remember how that went all the way through and the deals closed? Go back to that experience, that state. Now, if you did it then, can we do that again? And it's like that Bob the Builder thing. It's one of the most brilliant shows. Like, Bob the Builder asked that question, can we fix it? And it's like, it's like, yes, we can.
Yeah,
when you ask yourself that, when you ask yourself that question, though, it's kind of like, it's questioning it. It's challenging it. Can I sell this product? And it's like, yes, I can. And you use that experience and you're like, let me go do it. I did it once. Let's go make this happen again. But keep helping them to remember, bro. Oh my goodness. How long we got? Can we go for 2 hours?
Keep going. So give me something personal for you. Like, what's, you made this transition from salesperson and sales leader to running your own business.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a significant jump because I've done the same thing. Right. And it's a significant jump. And I think every time that, I think you don't have to leave and start a business. That's not the point of my comments. But whenever we venture into something new or we feel like something's new, that's when you're challenged, right? And that's when confidence, I think, is tested. Your self-worth is tested. Your process is tested. I mean, everything, it feels like this massive test, right? So I'm just curious, like, when you stepped into this new thing, which is not so new anymore, 8+ years, 9+ years in, but walk me through what was that like, and how even to this day, maybe do you leverage like those things from the past to help propel you forward? Like, personally, I'm just curious for you.
Yeah. So it was really tough in the sense, like, I remember the day when I went to my boss and it's on one of my phones. I recorded the conversation and I told her, like, I'm leaving resigning. They're like, oh, this crazy little millennial thinking that they can rise to the top. But I was like, bro, I see some of the people here in this executive position. I was like, I can do your job, run around and laps around that. The performance there. I didn't say that, of course, but
Yes.
I was like, but it was experiment. I started a podcast, and wasn't a goal of leaving my company. I started a podcast, and if something came from it, something came from it, but it did. And it started developing. It was like a year and a half, 2 years of seeing opportunities. So I was like, we didn't have a kid then. We said, let's capitalize. So we jumped on it, and I did at that point. Now, jumping into this role, I wasn't confident in running a business, and I still learn stuff all the time. And I went through school of hard knocks, and I got mastermind, and I learned from other smart people that, guided me as well, and some of those leaders that I had. And one of the things, though, that I came to realize from that was, it wasn't going to be easy. And because I've accomplished hard things in the past, I could do this if I learn it, just like how I learned the processes before with other things, whether it was sales or with track and field or whatnot. So I used that same idea. So the transition was challenging in that vein. It was challenging leaving from a salesperson role to a leader seller role, because the issue that I found was that it was very easy to sell somebody's physical product, but it was the software we sold. So their asset. But when you're selling yourself, the mental side of that was really harsh, because it's not that you are rejecting my software, you are rejecting me, in a sense that I wasn't capable or doing. And that's why I took it. So that was a transition that I had to get through and to break through, to help me to realize that I could give value to other people, because I had been given value on moonlighting on the side, and those people saw results. But now as I go in for bigger fish in the pond, I had the fear, and I still battle that at times. I'm not lying to you, where we work with some of these large companies, and I'm like, can I really help them? And I have to go back and Bob the Builder, and it's like, yes, I can. Like, if I help this individual company see a result, this small mom and pop, why can't I help the same type of people who are in the, New York Life, or in, if it's Quicken Loans or whatever, why can't I help those individuals as well? And the funny thing was, when you peel the onion back, it's the same human beings. Oz is Oz in any company, because in a big company, it doesn't make them any different. They both still have problems. They all still want steak. And I have steak and they have berries.
Yes.
So
I appreciate you sharing that. I think, sometimes as salespeople, and I experienced the same thing when I got into this business, right? Of whatever you happen to be selling, in this case, it's us, there can be this, it holds you back of like, it's what's the saying? It's business, not personal. Right. And yet we can take offense to some of these things. Like, it is personal, right? Because now you're attacking what I built and all this sort of stuff. And in general, I think as salespeople, we have to separate ourselves from as best we can, to like, hey, we're here to help you solve a problem. And if we're diligent upon that, it's the understanding that sometimes people don't want their problem to be solved. One. Two is maybe we're just not the right fit, or their timing's off, or budget's not there, or whatever. And we're going to be diligent in following up. And then there's times where we actually can do that, right? And it's maybe bigger than we thought, or smaller than we thought, or exactly what we thought. But it's understanding that, like, if we focus on solving the problem and not just like selling something, that's, I think, where the magic happens. And for me, I've had the same thing of like separating, like, well, they don't like me. Well, you sell, to your point, you just held up a water bottle. Like, well, you're selling a water bottle. This has nothing to do with you. They manufacture their own water bottles. So why would they buy yours? Right. It's like, well, but come on, they're, the buyers, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, no, it's nothing about you. It's, perhaps you didn't have the right focus, or the right client, or the right prospect, and separating that out to like continuing the process to solve problems. And I think that's where magic is in any sales role, especially what you and I do, but in any sales role is like, it's how do we optimize the product and the service and the delivery to help solve their problem? And you stay focused there, amazing things happen.
100%. Couldn't agree more on that. So
fascinating. Okay. Hey, Donald, we're running up on time here. So I want to be very aware of this, aware of your time. And I mean, I've taken a ton of notes down here, starting with Steve Hatch, which you mentioned at the beginning, and the 3x3, and kind of, you talk about mastering the technique, and you talk about this, separating perfection from getting the job done, building trust, all those sorts of things. One thing that I want to make sure we talk about is, I know you help companies in a variety of different ways, but one thing in particular is you've got this LinkedIn course going right now. And I think the LinkedIn, I called it the LinkedIn, the LinkedIn. Facebook, the Instagram, no. But LinkedIn, I think is a phenomenal place, obviously from a B2B perspective. But talk to me a little about like the LinkedIn course, your LinkedIn approach, kind of how you view leveraging that pretty darn powerful tool.
Yeah, LinkedIn by far is one of the people sleep on LinkedIn. And here's a challenge that we see. We had the same issue. I had the same issue when I first started off as a sales rep. I was working at a company where they didn't know what they were doing, so they had us do a little bit of everything. We were physically going out visiting companies. We were doing all kinds of ineffective stuff, bro. We sponsored a 5K run, and we were just like puny. I'm like, why are we wasting money on this? Yep. And it was just all these like random things. And one of the things they said, go to the Chamber of Commerce. And I was like, none of our ideal customers are there, as we learned later on. But you're wasting time and wasting money and all this stuff. And needless to say, the company went down. But one of the things though was like, we were trying to get on LinkedIn, and we were trying to go into groups, because everyone says, go to LinkedIn, you can make money. It's kind of like people saying like, go to the gym, you can lose weight. It's like, I'm here.
What's happening?
Where's the weight? It's like, they don't tell you now you need to use do your cardio and then do your abs and then do your, none of that was given. It was just like, go on LinkedIn. And so many people find that. So they do what they do. And you see some of those funny gym reels where people are just like, they're using the machine wrong. And it's just kind of like, what the heck is going on? It's just funny, because that's the same idea. So if you picture that, it's the same idea that's happened on LinkedIn, where people go on there and they're doing the things wrong, where they take a message and say, this is like my email. Let me blast it to everybody that I'm connected to. And then they wonder why they don't get appointments. LinkedIn sucked. It doesn't work. Only 3 or 4% of LinkedIn users actually post content on LinkedIn. If you go back to what I said in the middle of the episode, buyers like to what? They like to learn, right? Yep. They like to get knowledge. They like to figure out how to solve things. 41% of buyers, of executives, said that they discover new products and new services through social media. So I'm framing this here. So the strategy that we teach, our approach, is that we want to connect, share, and engage, because nothing starts unless you're connecting with the right people. Most people right now, if you look at the connection, let's say they have 500 people they're connected with. I would bet money that less than 10% of those people, maybe 20%, if I'm going to be conservative here, 20% of those people are connected with their ideal customers. 20%. So if they think about that, so 80% of the people that's seeing your stuff on LinkedIn could never buy from you. Like maybe some of your college friends, like we talked about, and we have people like that, but not all of them. Yes. But the idea is we need to bankroll our LinkedIn connections with people who could buy from us. So connect with your ideal customers every single day. So I tell sellers about, you can get to about 10 connection requests sent out per day without getting your hand slapped. You're way underneath that threshold. Yes. But you're sending these connection requests, and you're sending personalized connection requests. Let's say half those people connect back with you. That's 5 a week times the course of a month. That's 5 a week over the course of a month. 25 individuals of your ideal customers that could buy from you are connecting back to you and starting to see your content. Great. The second thing is share relevant content. We teach people what kind of content stimulate in people's interests. So again, 41% of executives are saying this. So that they're finding stuff. So can we share content? What we're going to share is what people want to learn. If I'm a math student, what do I want to learn? Yep. I'm not trying to learn physics. Probably physics. I'm not trying to learn. I know what you mean, yeah. Not trying to learn like history. Like, give me math. Teach me how to do math. So the same concept. If my buyers are looking for, let's say HR managers, they're looking for things relative to HR. What are some of the changes in HR? What are some of the issues right now when it comes to employee retainment? Can I teach on that? They're going to like that stuff. And it's not complicated. I have steak. They want steak. So then that's what I'm going to explain about. Not even though I may like berries, it doesn't care what I like. They want steak, so give them steak. Yes. And I teach about that. And then now the last piece is to engage, because some people will just it's like they do fireworks. They drop a firework and run and don't, that's it. But when you drop a post on LinkedIn, you want to go back and engage with people who post on that. I look at it, everyone that's were my ICP that engage on that post, and then I go ahead and drop them a message. like say something to the nature of, hey, Matt, thanks so much for engaging on my post about hiring. Out of curiosity, are there any pieces of, what are you guys doing right now when it comes to hiring, or something to the nature, but we're already connected. Matt, what resonated to you with that post? I'm trying to fresh my stuff up. Yeah, Donald, I love the stuff that you talked about with hiring. I love the ideas that you gave around that. Appreciate that, man.
Yes.
Have you guys tried any of those? No, we haven't tried any of those yet, but I'm going to try some of those. Better yet, if you're open to it, I can jump on a 3 to 5 minute call and give you some more things that I'm seeing working right now when it comes to hiring with some of our clients.
Yep.
All right, that's dope. Let's do it.
Yep.
Get on a call with you. And I'm just going to teach you, tell you the stuff because you want to learn, right? Here's what we're seeing from some of our other clients when we do it with New York Life, and this is what they're seeing when they come to hire. This is how they're retaining people. Ooh, this is a secret they're getting. Yeah, I'm giving you all the secret. Like, great. Donald, what do you do exactly? Well, we have a program where we teach people, HR directors how to retain. Can you get some information on that? There you go. I booked an appointment because I shared relevant content. I connect with somebody that was my ICP, and I engage on that post, and that's it. But we teach that, and we keep over 50 different, videos that we have. But we teach a bunch of different plays, like specific strategies that sellers can utilize to maximize LinkedIn without spamming people. That's a long answer. I like to teach, so.
Well, I love it though, and I think to your point, right? We've got all these tools available to us, and I always, I've been a user of certain CRMs in the past, and they've got thousands of bolt-ons that can make your life easier and all this stuff. And then it's like, ooh, this is great. And then we don't use it, and we don't know how to effectively use it. And it's like with social media, one thing you teach when you start a business, right? Or for you salespeople out there who want to post more content and do that sort of stuff, they teach you, like, at the start, pick one platform, master the platform, and then move on to the next. Whereas if you try to use every tool available to you, you're going to be scattered. It's really challenging to do that, right? Unless you've got a massive team to do it. And that's what I love about this LinkedIn focus of, it's a tool, let's master it, optimize it. And then if necessary, after you've mastered it and optimized it, then go on to another channel, right? To go create this and do this. But I'm going to put...
Now,
go ahead, Donald.
I'll shut up with that after we get off this, but I just tell people, like, for me, what I see to be the best with that is that we do I use Insta. I like Insta and I like TikTok. Mm-hmm. My money comes from LinkedIn. So we have some individuals that can benefit from that stuff. And we did it in phases, right? Where majority of my activities, because you can see I'm if you will go to the gym, a little focus, right? I'm doing my upper body. So LinkedIn is my upper body. My legs aren't that big on TikTok or Insta, but that's not where my focus needs to be at this point. And we're rounding that out as we are doing more and more content there. But the biggest component, though, the place where money is at, is LinkedIn for us. So I love what your statement there. Focus on where you need to focus on right now.
Absolutely. And you ran hurdles, man. Your legs have to be ripped. So,
I know. As you can see, I'm doing the upper body thing doesn't work for me. I'm not that. I just like
That's right.
I just that lean physique.
Yeah, I'm more top heavy. Yeah, little chicken legs over here. But no, this is awesome. We're gonna put links to the LinkedIn course, so if people are interested, they can go check it out. Again, I'm such a believer of that platform, but also just being hyper focused on building a process and running the process and staying focused on it. And you teach that, and that's what I absolutely love about that in particular. So I'll make sure we put a link to that, Donald, in the show notes, and please go check that out, everyone. Last thing, and then we'll let you go, Donald. Where can the listeners find you, connect with you? Where's the best place?
So there's two things you can do. One, you can go to LinkedIn and connect with me. You can follow, but I would ask you to connect. There's a 3 dot. You'll see follow next to me, but there's next to my name, but there'll be 3 dots. You could click on that dot and you'll see something that says connect, and just write a personal message. Heard you on Matt Phillips Podcast, 3x3 or whatever. I'll figure out what that. Yes. I know exactly who you are at that point. And then, or hurdles.
Yes.
And then let's connect there. Let's chat. And then if you want to check out our LinkedIn stuff, you can go to salesevangelist.com/LinkedIn, and that will give you adequate help and stuff that you can take advantage of regarding our programs or free stuff.
Brilliant.
Because I know you want to learn.
Brilliant. Well, this was a fun conversation. And to your point, we could go for, I think, another probably, half a day, full day. I don't know. We could just keep going. And that's absolutely what I love.
We're going to do a workshop, y'all. You need to come to
Well, and the beauty is, so everybody, we found out last time when I was on Donald's podcast that he lives in West Palm Beach in Florida, and I go to like very close to there about 5 times a year. And so next time I'm in town, we're going to be grabbing a meal and hanging out and getting to do get to spend some time together. So I'm super excited for that. But I've just truly enjoyed this conversation, and I can't thank you enough for being part of this, Donald, and just getting to spend a little time with you today. So thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, man. And congrats for the podcast. And I'll tell anyone listening to the show that, sometimes we don't necessarily do this as much as the host, but this podcast is dope. And I know, 1 or 2 people who can benefit from it. I would ask you just to take the link and share it with them. And I know that Matt would greatly appreciate that. So
I appreciate
that.
It. See, I don't want to sell myself, so I have someone else do it for me. It's brilliant. Brilliant, everyone. We're putting the principles to work right here. No, but no, awesome. Well, everyone have a fabulous rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips Podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things, to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator: mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.